good day, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. We are, of course, live. Looking forward to, looking back on Blackburn Rovers Championship campaign and maybe even looking forward to next year's campaign. I am live and I'm joined by Rovers fans around the world. That's right. I am based out in the glorious USFA. I am joined by Holmesy out in South Africa. I've also got Jacob Ward, of course, treading the boards around the UK. The man, the myth, the legend, of course, and Denver Green out in Wales. That's right. So hello, everybody. Welcome to the party. You are live. Please do not swear. In fact, who cares? Swear all you like. So let's start with round the clock. Remind ourselves, of course, Holmesy out in South Africa. We're going to start with you. Recapping last season as we, of course, culminated to, I don't know, a bit of, I feel, a disappointing end, but what is your take on how we all, as Rovers fans, ended last season? Holmesy.
Well, it was deja vu, wasn't it? Fantastic start. High and mighty in February. The world was our oyster. Just had to put a few back-to-back performances together. Suppose, if anything, we had a better February than we did last season, but it just all came crumbling down as we got to the business end of the season. Few really unlucky results in those two last-minute draws, which really turned what could have been a good season into what was, in the end, a disappointing season.
Indeed. And what about you, Jacob? Of course, my camera's a little bit funky, so please bear with me on this. But, of course, you were there and thereabouts, of course, treading the boards, last games of the season. I don't think you caught the last game in Millwall, but I'm sure it was definitely a thriller. But how was your experience seeing JDT in full flow as the gaffer for his first full season?
Yeah, I watched the Millwall game, the final game, on Sky. But yeah, I mean, I think we played that game obviously with a bit of freedom and showed what we could do in that second half as a team when the pressure's sort of off. But I think that has been the big thing for us as a team over the past 5 years or so since promotion from League One. I think every single time we've hit those pressure moments, getting to the playoff, in and around the playoff spots, we've just crumbled. And I think we've done that pretty much every single season, really. As soon as we've got in around the playoffs, it just tails off, unfortunately. But I think in terms of Jean Doe's first season, we can't have any complaints. The fact he's being courted by Feyenoord and the like, and I know they've opted for someone else now, haven't they? But even there's links with Leicester and whatnot, which you could see potentially happening. Shows how much of a coup we've really got here, and I just do hope he stays. I think it'd be a bit silly for him to leave for another Championship side when he's already got his project here and he's getting signings through the door. I think the only thing that may put him off was the whole January fiasco, which ultimately, if we do get January right, we definitely get that extra point and make it into the playoffs. But it wasn't meant to be, I suppose.
No, it wasn't, and of course we finished a reasonable seventh again, still making headway. But of course, Denver, how are you doing? Of course, maybe as a Rovers fan, but with a bit of an extra sort of flavour. Of course, you come here with a coaching mindset. From just looking at JDT's first season, in your eyes, are you happy with the outcome, or were you disappointed? Hopefully, people can hear me. I'm just making sure people can hear me. Yes, you got. People can hear me. All right, good. So, Denver, what is your take on JDT?
My take, I think it's been what's the word I'm looking for? Content. I think we can all safely say that it's been a very even. Considering it's the first season in, not really his players that Tony Mowbray has developed and trying to introduce a new way of playing and everything. I'm saying okay. I think, at the minute in this day and age, you've got people thinking you're 5 or 6 games in and that's their verdict. And if they've not done well, if they've not won any games, they're out, like a Watford and almost in a revolving door. But for me, it's more of a case of he's done okay. I see what he's trying to do. And it's a case of let's see what he can do when he brings his own players in and see where he goes from there. But at the minute, it's been a case of, look, I've not been there have been times I was thinking, God, what's going on here? This seems like a bit of a mess. And there's sometimes I've gone, look, we've played some amazing football against like the Leicester themselves and so on, and against West Ham we've had good performances, but it's hard to say. I think it's a case of, look, okay, interesting first season. Let's see these next season what direction we go in, if we have an upward trajectory or not, if we get the right players in, his players in, and see how the squad develops. And I think that's the only assessment I can really give. Again, a disappointing season, but at the same time, you've got to give the man time, and we've got to see how he can develop these next few season or two, depending how long he stays.
Indeed, yeah. It was, of course, we are. Well, I was a little bit concerned, I'd say, with the news and the links with Feyenoord and maybe even PSV. So, the initial threat might be gone, and JDT should still be a Rovers manager, I think, heading into the season. But like Jacob said, it is a good testament to us that those links are there, and he seems to be sought after outside of Ewood Park. But I'm going to bring up on the screen here a graphic which shows the end of the season. And we're all going to jump in on this one and have a little, just to showcase where we are and where others were. And of course, we now know the outcome of the playoffs with Luton, who were third. So, maybe understandably so, they got themselves promoted despite having to go through an extra couple of hurdles there. But seventh spot in the end, which I think we either matched or equal. Like, we might have matched last season's points, or I can't remember. But of course, nicking that final spot above us, Holmesy, was of course Sunderland, was of course Tony Mowbray. And I'm looking back. I'm happy he did it in a way, but I'm also happy that they didn't get promoted in a way. So that it was kind of like a just. And I think he's and there are, again, I don't really want to be harping on about Mowbray really, because he doesn't belong us anymore. But there are rumours that he's also fighting for his job, despite doing such wondrous achievements. But looking at that the 4 teams that made the playoffs, what's your thoughts on those? Does it give you hope for next season?
Yeah, listen, looking at those 4 teams, I mean, I think Luton definitely deserved to go up at the end of the day. Thank God Coventry didn't go up after what happened in our game. The handball definitely wasn't one. At the beginning of the season, everybody expected Middlesbrough to be up and around there. They had a strong, consistent season. I think they'll probably be up there again. Yeah, I mean, I suppose Sunderland, Tony Mowbray, you never want your ex to do better than you. But yeah, so him going up would have been disastrous, I think. But yeah, good on him to finally get in those playoff places. I don't think Sunderland were ever good enough to actually get through. I don't think they had the quality that some of the other teams had, or the consistency throughout the season. But you'd expect most of those teams to be up there again, I suppose. Certainly Middlesbrough, probably Coventry. See what happens with Sunderland. I don't think it would be very harsh on Tony if he had to lose his job there. But yeah, I think the biggest things are those teams that are coming down from the Premier League. That quality coming down. Those are very strong teams coming down. Certainly Leicester. I mean, just if you wouldn't put any money against them not coming out on top next season.
It is going to be very challenging for next season, and with those bigger clubs, I would say, bigger clubs than your typical yo-yo ones, your Leicester and your Southampton. Leeds maybe still trying to get out of that category of a yo-yo club, even they've only made 1 return. But Jacob, what are your takes when you look at that? Does it give you some? Do you fear next season? Do you go in there with a bit of hope?
I think next season's going to be a hell of a lot harder than this season. I think you just look at the quality of teams on paper, so many more bigger temes. And you got to think, even this season, the likes of Norwich, Watford, they've not been their usual selves. Many people would have obviously put them in the top 6. Many people thought Norwich would go back up, as they always seem to do. And both teams were quite mediocre this season, and it shows when Luton, Middlesbrough, Coventry, Sunderland, they're the 4 teams that make the playoffs. None of them got relegated last season. You usually at least have one team that's, got relegated the prior season in the playoffs. Even Sheffield United getting second, they didn't get relegated. So for only one team to come down and go straight back up, obviously we know who that was, is quite strange, really. So they're going to be firing back at it. West Brom, weren't at their very best, I don't think. Some of the players they've got on paper are just mental, and they should be a lot better. And then, as mentioned, Leicester are going to be a force to be reckoned with. Leeds, potentially change of ownership there. So you'd think they'd be going for it. And Southampton's a strange one. I don't think they're a huge club by any means, so could maybe find themselves stuck down here, but they do have good foundations with the academy and everything. And then even coming up, Sheffield Wednesday is a bit of a sleeping giant. If they were to make it, same could be said. And Argyle's a weird one, but they could be a bit of a dark horse. Who knows?
Denver, what are your takes on the next campaign? We'll go into a little bit more detailed in a little bit, but 7th finish at the start of the season. I've actually scribbled down the Roverseas Mafioso's predictions for the start of the season. Well, most of them. They're missing a couple, but 7th. When we look back at the start of the campaign, probably we would have accepted that. But I think it's more the way it kind of ended that's probably going to leave a bit of a nasty taste. What are you thinking there, Denver?
I was thinking it's the same as previous seasons, isn't it? We were well in there most of the season. It's very much like an Arsenal, right? We've been at the top or in amongst it for most of it, and then you drop out at the last hurdle. Yes, look, at the beginning of the season, we all thought transition year. Look, it's gonna. We were expecting almost what we've expected, but we've performed better in a sense. So I remember thinking mid-table, maybe bottom of the top of the table. So in the sense of like your 10th, 11th kind of area. So look, if you look at it, we had a very, very good. Look, up until the last few games where we did drop off, we would have said, look, we've had a really good season. We've had some good cup runs, which we've not been able to say for the past 5 years. And we've really made a name for ourselves, and we're a tough place to come. So you look at it and you go, look, okay, ultimately, we've missed out on goal difference. It's hard to, as much as we did flop and fall away. It's about building. We'll see. Like I said, it's going to be difficult. See how we get on next year with more difficult teams coming down, and see if we can step up a little bit of experience now within the group. Now they've had this done twice now. Ultimately, just missing out. Let's see if they can hopefully aid them better for a potential push. So in the essence, Brighton when they were once down, they were nearly, they're always nearly until they eventually went up. So we can just hope it will be similar to that, won't we?
Yes, we could. Well, so I couldn't find yours. I could not find yours, Jacob, and I could not find yours, Holmesy. But I have 2 or 6 of the Mafioso's predictions here. So we're going to go in reverse order. Who got it the worst? And then somebody got it bang on the nose. Someone got it spot on. Okay. So into the last spot that I can find. And unless you can remind me, Holmesy or Jacob, what you predicted. But Lewis came in with...
Look like that, didn't it? Huh? I'm going to say Jacob predicted exactly how it is now. It's madness, isn't it?
Well, I know we got together towards the back end of the campaign, but I was looking for the ones at the start. But Lewis came in, he put 14th. So much better than that. Denver came in with a 13th spot. Steve Ward, who of course was in and out of the Mafioso for a bit, he went in with 12th. Ben, Big Beardo Ben, he went with a 10th spot. Millie with 8th. The guy who got it right was everyone's, the brains of the department. Alexander Haben with the 7th spot. Would you, Adam and Eve? He got it spot on the nose. I think I actually went 10th. So who else went 10th? Yeah, Ben went 10th as well. So not too shabby. So in hindsight, at the start, so you would have taken 7th, but where do we go from here? But This is a journey. It's going to be an interesting summer, and the summer has already burst into life for Rovers with links and the retain list and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to kind of divulge into that right about now. Now, on your screen, you should see lovely little pictures of all the players here. I've got to make this very easy for me, and it's going to be a little tricky. So we're going to go and we're going to rank these guys, the players, from A to F. A means absolutely amazing, and they should be in the championship team of the season, or at least Rovers team of the season, or best player ever, or whatever. And then F, they should be going home, getting spanked or something like that. I don't know, just forgotten about. So we're going to start. We're going to do it in the picture order. So I've got Holmesy first, Jacob Ward. If anyone disagrees, let me know. Let me hear your roar. So Holmesy, and they're coming at you. I don't even know what kind of order. So we've got Harry Leonard. Harry Leonard, how do you think? Where would you rate his performance this season? That's next. So while the next guy's already up there. So Jacob, you could be thinking about Phillips, unless you completely disregard what Holmesy said. You want to argue, but Leonard.
Yeah, listen, Leonard didn't really get a full crack this season, I suppose, coming in. Didn't set the world on fire when he did play. I'd put him in the D category.
Good shout, I think. Yeah, I think that's probably about right. Didn't really burst into flames, did he? I tipped him to do well, but no, I didn't. I tipped Jack Vale to do well. I didn't really think Leonard would break in. So Ashley Phillips, young gun. I was ecstatic that he signed a deal. I could not believe he actually signed a deal. But at a few minutes, few games here, there, and everywhere. Jacob, where would you rank him in his performance this season?
I think when called upon, he did a decent job. I think there were a couple games here and there where he showed his age, but it's to be expected when he just turned 18 now. You know, a 17-year-old couldn't even have the sponsor on his shirt due to it being vaping and all that. But yeah, I'd probably give him a C. I think when called upon, did a decent job most of the time. But I think this season's going to be the big one with Ayala making way now.
Yep. Denver, you got everyone's favourite right now. It's Adam Wharton, of course, coming in here with a 59 rated from FIFA, but very much sought after. I can probably make 20 videos of this guy because Leeds are after him. Leeds, Leicester, Newcastle, they're all after this kid. What a way to come onto the stage. Oh
yeah, phenomenal, hasn't he, this season? Again, you can't blame FIFA for the 59 rating just because at the start of the season, I don't think any of us would have thought, oh, Adam Wharton's going to burst onto the scene and make such an impact that he has. But he's been phenomenal this season. And if it wasn't for that injury, I reckon he could have. I think there'll be more teams looking at him and talking about him. But he looks just so composed in that midfield, doesn't he? I think he's still got a little room to develop. He's still not the full article, of course. He's only, I don't know how old he is, 18, 19, around there. So I think he's got a little bit of sometimes he's beaten off the ball too easily and stuff like that. But that'll just come over time and playing more regularly. And but he's got the technical ability, he's got the mindset, and I think he's definitely one of our brighter prospects in the club. So I think it's gonna have to be an A. It's close. It could be a high B. It could be a high B just because this season he did get injured for a large majority of it. But it's like, can we put it in between that B and A? He's in there. I think it's like low A, high B.
Any additional additions to that? Does anybody want to argue the case for an A or argue a case for a B?
I don't know. I see what Denver's saying. Great player, great prospect. I don't know if he played enough to get that A. I think that A's got to be reserved for those players. Full seasons, played, the majority of games and impact. Don't get me wrong, when Wharton played, had a very big impact on the club. But I think for me, in order to get an A, you're looking at those players. Fantastic player, fantastic future. When he was called upon, did brilliantly. I think for me, I'd say B, but that's
Jacob,
my thinking.
What about you?
Mm-hmm. Depends if you're going off expectations. If you're going off expectations, I think it's got to be an A, especially for how he played the second half of the season. I think you could see JDT's coaching in him from the first half of the season, where he was decent when he played, but he was on another level, especially in that Burnley game. Like, Jesus Christ, he was the best player on the pitch. He was running now Premier League midfielders ragged, and they just couldn't handle him at all. So if you're going off expectations of what we expected as fans, I'd say definitely an A.
Well, I'm going to I'll put him in the B. I think we're right in saying B. I think, if we're going to say who is, like this is kind of like a review of the season. He was good. We know he's going to get better, and I know he will be an A probably furthermore. But performance-wise, I'm going to be a B. Yeah, I think we're right. I think we had more of it, and I'm gonna agree with Holmesy the fact that there are probably 2 or 3 players that are gonna get an A. This guy's not one of them, but we don't want it to be bloated. We want them to stand out a little bit. So technically,
and listen, just in case there's any scouts watching as well, we better just give him.
Yeah. Kind of dumb him down a little bit, like garbage. We don't want them to lose them. Okay, so you get another striker here, another young gun, Jack.
Another young disappointing striker. Thanks. I see we've skipped out the E's.
Well, F is like it's hardcore F. Yeah, fail.
Yes, I feel bad giving him an F because he didn't really get a proper run at it, but he did get opportunities which he didn't take. Somewhere between a D and a F. If there was an E, I'd give him an E.
Any arguments? Any arguments for that?
I think it's an F, and I think for what we were expecting, especially after the previous season, thinking, look, he's gonna. Also, for the next person I can see in the list, I think it's similar for this person as well. But it's a case of we thought, you know what, this was the season where they were going to step up. Almost like Butterworth last season, and they just never found their feet. And and they ended up. We had we got other players playing in that position. We had the wingers playing as a striker, and never really getting them. With Leonard now coming through ahead of him, it's like we can't really think of anything else. I think it has to be enough.
I think he did score a couple of good goals. Did he score some in the cup or something? One of the cups.
Going against West Ham.
Tappins, yeah, tapping from there.
That's hard. The goal against West Ham was a decent goal. I think that's hard.
Team goal.
Team goal. Give me enough chances in the team. I'll score one eventually.
So are we in unison with the F?
I'd probably say, considering how many chances he had, it probably would have to be an F. Leonard didn't have anywhere near as many chances as Vale did.
Okay, well, Jacob, this one's yours, all yours. We didn't see any of them, really, to be honest.
Yeah, Marconde, to be honest, from what I've seen from him in the Cup, he played really well, and I think it was harsh loaning him out, especially when, we were losing Hurst up front and whatnot, but he's gone to Aberdeen, didn't he? And he's been a breadth of games there apparently as well. He's barely played, so it's been a bit of a stinker of a season for him. This was the season, like Denver was saying, we had high hopes. He did do well in those cup games and weren't really afforded chances in the league, so I think it'd be harsh to give him an F. Whereas Vale did get more than enough chances in the league off the bench and whatnot, and so I'd give him a D personally.
Any takers? No, let's do that. Let's give him a D. Again, next time we have another loanee. It was a tricky one. I think he was at Stockport and then he went to Doncaster. I don't know if he actually pulled on he might have played in something, but if he did, my memory escapes me. That's James Brown, if you don't know who that is.
Yeah, no, I heard he was doing well at Stockport, hence why he moved up the division. He was doing really well for Stockport, so he ended up moving to Doncaster, and I think it was a bit more of a quiet season, which was a bit of a weird one. I understand they want to develop him and maybe possibly put him into the Rovers squad, but if you're doing well at a club, regardless, you kind of just keep, unless you're going to use them for yourself, just get that momentum going. Especially if Stockport got to the League Two playoff final as well. That could have been an opportunity for him to stay there, but moving him to Doncaster halfway through the season, that's what it is. I don't know how much football he played there, but well, I mean, it's hard to say because is this going to be a tier list for Blackburn Rovers players, or because ultimately he played for Stockport and Doncaster this season.
Yeah, I'm not asking you to be an expert on Doncaster or Stockport, but for what the games or minutes that he played. And your general consensus of him and this season for your Blackburn Rovers point of view. So
low C, D. Maybe D would probably be the best place because like he did have a good start to the season and did well for Stockport, but then not really very much for Doncaster. So
D it is. Okay, now we're getting to a bit more familiarity, I guess. Again, going to Holmesy on this one. Jake Garrett, maybe the future shithouse in midfield. Injuries,
Yeah.
I think.
Injuries made it a more of a stop-start season, I think, for him. So he didn't get the opportunities that were certainly going to be coming his way. Looked really good at times. Looked a bit out of pace at times. Very hard hitting. I think very much like Phillips. I'd put him in the C category. Lots of room for improvement. I think next year could be a breakout season for him.
Did he get that red card removed, or did it stick?
He did. He got it removed.
Okay, this one's all Jacob's favorite player, right?
Oh, Jacob. Hey.
You know what? I forgot this man even existed. I had a friend who actually went and watched. It was Rovers under 21s v Spurs under 21s, and apparently he was still the worst player on the pitch.
Oh my! So an A then, right?
What an absolute waste of time. Absolutely awful. He should have been shipped off in January with Hurst, if we're honest. That Notts Forest game at home in the Cup, he was absolutely dreadful. Even worse than Amari Bell when he was at left back for us. I think the Burnley game just killed
really
him.
play now.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was very naive of Jean Dole to chuck him in at the deep end at Burnley, and he got done over a good couple of times in that game, and I think it just completely killed his confidence. Scott Wharton should have started that game for sure, and yeah, definitely an F, and we definitely won't be seeing him again.
Yep, I don't think there's any arguments. This was a toughie, I think.
Jacob's favorite player.
Kind of derailed the momentum, I think, with his FA Cup shambles. But they tried to get things back, but I don't know. Hey, I'm not deciding. Denver, this is all you.
I think, look, at the end of the day, he wasn't atrocious. Like he had a few mistakes in him, but again, he's a young player, and for the level, I think he did pretty. Like when you look at players who come down into the league, like your Leighton Clarkson, you don't like as much as we wanted him to do really well, and he just didn't perform whatsoever. This guy played regularly for us. He had a mistake in it, but what player hasn't? And youngsters who have played in the squad, we've got the same for, Garrett and so on and so forth. But Morton was a regular until he got injured to the end of the season. Okay, we had the incident at Sheffield United, which kind of tarnished a few relations with him, but I don't think he was an atrocious play. He played some good stuff when he did, and I think C is just safe. I think C is a good place to put him. I think he had an all right season.
I think
do you agree?
Personally, I think you look at like the goal. Hedges scores being Reading at home. He takes the ball down beautifully, passes it to Gallagher. He had his moments, but he also had his moments like at Wigan. They single-handedly cost us that game, and if we'd have held on for a point there, we make the playoffs. It's as simple as that, really. So that's
say that all the time.
Well,
and also about don't forget about the FA Cup shambles with the whatever.
That was just pathetic. But that's just the Premier League player in him, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I think Holmesy's got a good one here.
Oh, I think definitely breakthrough of the season. Came in, held down his spot well, formed a great partnership. I think Carter's our first A for me. I think, Scott Wharton started off as the preferred centre-back. Obviously, you had Ayala, who was injured, and Carter just slotted in perfectly. I think came of age this season.
Wow. Any disagreements with that? Do you think he's that high? Any others?
I might have said B. Just as much as he's been very, very good. Again, he had his moments. I remember one time thinking his positioning was, I can't remember what game it was. His position was really poor, which we conceded a goal. But at his age, again, you still expect, especially with a certain player called Dominic Hyam there, he was definitely an A. I think Carter, he's done really well, and the fact that the past few seasons have been loaned out, He's come in and he's made that spot his own. But I still think there's a lot more to come from Carter. So I'd say B. I'd say he's had a very good season with B. I don't know what Jacob's thinking.
I think personally it's quite similar to Adam Wharton. So if he's in B, I'd go B as well. I do think he's been brilliant the second half of the season. Didn't really feature much the first half, but his range of passing from centre half as well is amazing. And he's definitely going to be one to watch next year for sure.
It is also in that category, and they are sniffing. Newcastle, all the big boys are lingering. I would have been with you there, Holmes. I think he's up there in the A department.
No, I can deal with B with him being next to Water. Not bad company to be in.
Yeah, and again, I think the A's are few and far between. But would this guy sneak in there, do you think, Jacob? I don't know myself, but it's on you.
Yeah, I think it's been really interesting with Pairs. I mean, who could have seen this? We thought, obviously, with Kaminsky, we had one of the best keepers in the league, and could it be argued the same with Pairs now, I suppose? I think since he's come in, he has had a couple of bangers. I don't think that can be overlooked. But Kaminsky was very much out of form just before that injury. Even before the injury, we were saying in our group chats and whatnot, Pairs needs to be going in due to those cup performances where he was playing out of his skin. The Notts Forest game, I know it ended up as a bit of a battering, really, but how many saves he pulled off in that game, he were unbelievable. And yeah, really good in that cup run, even called upon in the league, done really well. And has managed to keep out Belgium's number 3 at the end of the day. Obviously, I'm being awarded with a new contract, which you would think we'll see Kaminsky leave now. I'd be putting him in B personally. I think he's been very good since coming in, but he's not worthy of the A.
Yeah. Any other words on Pairs? Pair of safe hands? Yeah, okay. If you're into B, go.
I would have been happy with C, to be fair, as well. I was looking at the company. I'm thinking Wharton and Carter, they've played more. Pairs only played the last 2 months of the season, where Kaminsky played the majority of it. And I'm thinking,
more than that.
I swear it was February when Kaminsky got injured, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that left two and a bit months.
I'd say
so.
Yeah. I put him up. I'd say, I worry. I was concerned about him being given the job, but he definitely deserved it. There was a period where he was very good. Well, at least we were good as a team. I'd say B. I think B's probably right.
Okay.
But you have your thoughts on this guy, a guy who we on the podcast had sold him. We sold him. We got rid of him. Dropped him down to League One and everything. And I still have my reservations about JRC, but the performances were great again. Just like Pairs, bit of a rebirth, I'd say. And Denver, it's your responsibility to grade him where he goes.
Right, F. No, anyway, I remember being on a podcast with yourself and Jake and Jacob, sorry, and we were like, I think he's played his last game. I think this was just before Christmas. Right? He's played his last game. I think he'll be gone in January. Just shame. Britain's been class. Yeah, it was just like, and just look at how well he's done. And not only that, he's looked phenomenal. Like I think he's playing with such a confidence, and I think that'll aid any player. But JRC especially, like he's just been. Going forward, he's been ridiculous, and defensively, he's been solid, and he's been keeping Britain out the team very well. And anytime we played him 3 or 4 games, I'm always thinking, oh god, he's going to pull his hamstring or something, because that was always him. He'd always pull something when he's playing well. But to be fair to him, he stayed fit and played the rest of the season out. So I think this has to be our first day, surely. I think he's been phenomenal since he's come in.
Any other thoughts?
It's been a season of 2 halves, hasn't it? I mean, you got to think how dreadful he was the first half of the season. Like, he single-handedly cost us that game at Stoke, which, again, Just going to say it. We would have made playoffs if it weren't for that.
We're gonna hear this all.
That could be thrown at a lot of
every-
people. The hedges missed, the flipping, whatever. There's going to be loads of things.
And I do. He's been absolutely brilliant since he come in like December time, weren't it? January, around there anyway. And he's been player of the month, man of the match, constantly. But I can't get past how poor he was in the first half of the season. I think for someone to get an A, I think they've got to be spot on throughout the whole season for me.
Holmesy, so you're deciding?
Yeah, listen, I agree with Denver on an A. I think he came through solidly at the back end of the season. So from December onwards, he got a run of games, showed what getting a consistent run of games can do for his confidence. It built him up. I think we wouldn't have had, up until March when we started faltering, we wouldn't have been in the position we were in if he wasn't playing and wasn't coming into some form. There was many games where he was the only player on the pitch who looked like he was trying. I'd give him an A. I think for the comeback story as well. It's just an emotional comeback story of Rankin Costello, who we had written off, and there he is.
I would have put him B. I'm not as big as him. Yeah, he did play well second half, and every season we're going to have a scapegoat. Amari Bellwell used to be our scapegoat, and JRC at the minute he's going to be the brunt of my dismay. If I'm going to have to pick on somebody right now, it's still him. Sometimes he just looks so out of place. He doesn't look like a player, but other times he plays out of his skin. So I would have put B.
From what I've read, he's had chats with John Dahl about moving into midfield from next season.
Yeah.
Maybe more natural midfielder for me than he is a right back.
Perhaps, and then maybe we'll see because sometimes he did look, especially the first half definitely, but even when he was flying high, there was moments I thought, you're a professional footballer. These things, simple little things he does, just really irk me. But that's just my taste. Who was that? So I think who gets a done?
With me. It's Holmesy.
Yeah,
Holmesy.
Just go straight to the F. Don't pass go. Don't pass go. Straight to F. Shame. Listen, I feel a little bit bad for him. He clearly not rated by JDT. Fell out of plans. Should have probably been loaned out in January. I would be very surprised if we haven't sold him or he hasn't gone out on loan this season. Yeah.
It is a shame. I do like the guy. I think there's a player in there. It's just I don't know what position he plays in.
I don't think he knows what position he plays in.
Exactly, and that too. But I think he did. It was a trier, but unfortunately, it just wasn't.
Listen, I think he could be a decent League One player, but
that's what we got. We got him as a League One player. We hope to make him better than that. But F. Any disagreements with F?
I think I'd have to disagree. Personally, I think when he's played, I don't think he's actually put a foot wrong this season. He just hasn't been given any chances.
Well, if you don't play, you can't put a foot wrong.
Well, to be fair, he got a few chances towards the start of the season. Obviously, he played in the cup as well. It was more towards the tail end of the season. We haven't seen him in months at this point, have we? But I think there was more than a few times where I was scratching my head at Pickering, especially early in the season, thinking Edun needs a chance here. I think F's a bit harsh. He's not Mauler levels at all. Mauler was absolutely horrendous in some of the games. I'd give him a D personally. I think he's like a Marconde and a Leonard, just not been afforded chances. But when he has, I don't think he's played badly at all personally.
Denver, it's all down to you now. Unless you go some weird,
I see what he's
give him an
A. Yeah, no. I see where Jacob's coming from in the sense of Markande and playing all right, but there's got to be a reason why he's not favouring him. Like in the sense of what I've seen of him, he's played okay. And I remember last season, I thought, there's something there. He's a good, safe, steady Eddie, and in wherever he was going to play, he was either in the midfield or a left back, but the fact that we haven't seen him at all feature, never mind that be on the bench, but every other week he'd maybe be on the bench and might not be. There's something that's like, you can't say he had half a decent season when you've just not seen him at all, and he's not even been on the bench. And it's like, ultimately, if you asked Edun where he'd rank himself, I think he'd rank himself in F just because he's not been given those chances. I'm sure ability-wise, he thinks he's got it, and there's something there. And I'm sure there's some player in there, like I said, he could be at League One or maybe bottom half Championship. But yeah, I think this season's not been a good one for Edun whatsoever.
So you're whacking him in the F.
I think F.
F for Edun. And I like him, and I agree with Jacob as well. He was given a hard stick because even when Pickering is out, we're playing Callum Britton as left back, and that does my head in. It's one of my biggest peeves is inverted or whatever. It takes extra. It slows the game down. Extra step to get it back on your right foot. I'm not a fan of that. But next up, who's on this one?
Did myself on it.
Would it be? I've lost the plot.
Yeah, it's Jacob.
Yeah,
Jacob.
Mr. Smodix. I think it's got to be an A. Even though start of the season he were being played at false 9 or whatever the hell were going on there, and it were absolutely awful and chronic at times. The Wigan away being the main one, I remember he was absolutely awful that game. Just doesn't have the stature or the ability to play that position, I don't think. But since then, dropping into like the number 10 role, the Bradley Dack role, he's just come into his own, hasn't he? Especially, when Diaz was out, I think him and Ty just kind of hit a different level at that point and really took it by the scruff of the neck. Leicester away, what a performance. I think he's going to be our main man next season, I think. So I'd give him an A personally. I think most of the season he's been brilliant.
Any disagreements?
I think I can put him in A and I'd be happy with it. I think he's had his moments like where he seems lost. I think the only reason I'll probably put him in A is just because of that frustration he let out before Diaz put it in the back of the net against Millwall. I think that was the best thing I've seen in a while. Him just outraged, and then I wanted to see his reaction afterwards because of course the camera panned away. But no, I think he's had a very good season. I think he's had his moments where he's been quiet, and then he's had his injuries as well. But he's definitely the most exciting player on the ball, I think. Filling in, having to fill the boots of a Dack when he's been out and replacing Rothwell, especially using the same number as well. And I think he's done a good job. I'll be happy putting him in A, but I can also see him going in B as well. It depends on what you guys also think.
Well, you hit the nail on the head there with, I think we found a player that is a Rothwell and a Dack combined.
Yeah.
I think he's.
I was just gonna say he's, for a first season at Rovers, I think he's done well. Obviously, still had to find his feet in those first few games, find the patterns, how we want to play, different teammates. But as the season went on, as more and more responsibility came on his shoulders, with Dack being out, I think he relished those opportunities, and he certainly grew as a player. And he probably doesn't have the natural skill and ability as a Dack. Dack just has it all. It just comes so naturally to him, and probably not to that level. But he certainly has a lot more tenacity off the ball than Dack. He's always chasing, always running, always fighting. Dack, everything was like smooth and there. And if he lost the ball, it wasn't like he probably was trying very hard to get back. But, you can see it with Sammy. He's got the speed, he's got the pace. And I think first season at Rovers, I think give him an A.
JRC's up there, then fucking Sam Smonich is up there. I tell you that. There's no way he's up there. That's all fairness. Okay.
Dirk, would you like us to move Rankin Costello to B?
Or a C, maybe a C. I don't know. It's your guys' opinion, not really mine. I just want to kind of throw in my little 2 cents here there. Next up, though, is the only left back I think we have, really, of quality anyway, or a championship standard. It's Pickering. Who's on this? Don't know. I'm lost.
It's me, isn't it? I think
Denver.
It's me. Yeah, I think Pickering. Also been a local lad around here. No, it's Chester, but still. I think he's had a solid season. I wouldn't say he's been, outstanding. I think he scored the goal of the season, team goal, but you've got to put that into account. And he's had some good moments. He scored that goal against Sheffield United, which was again, well, that's right, it's the team of the season goal. But no, he's played okay. Like he's had his moments, hasn't he? Where he's just been a solid player, I think, and he's not really put a foot wrong. It's a tough one. It's between C and B for me. I'll put him. I'm looking at it. He's done better than Morton. I'll probably put him in B. Up to you guys where you want to.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think it's gonna have to be debated and
very in between C and B.
Yeah, Jacob,
you can.
Oh, sorry.
I think I'd go C personally. I think there's been a few games where he's been exposed a little bit, but then he's chipped in with goals and whatnot. But I don't think he's one of those. I wouldn't mind if we're bringing another left back in the summer, definitely, to try and challenge him. I think he's a little too comfy at the minute, and I think there's more than a few times where he has a bad run of games and he just can't be replaced, can he? Because he's like you say, he's the only left back who we can really rely on at the minute, I suppose.
Yeah, I'd be happy with him in the C category. He's probably slightly better than Morton, but not as good as those guys who are in the B category. And I think more leaning in that C category for me.
I agree with also Jacob's points. I think like competition for places is massive. I remember when it was, Darren Lennon was always nailed on centre back because he was the only one there, and having it's just like if we do get rid of Kaminsky, we do need some competition for pairs. Then we do need somebody, because look at Pairs raising his game, look at JRC raising his game to try and get in. We need that stuff, and without Pickering, we're playing Callum Britton, who's next at left back.
Yep.
It's a crutch in our armour, and I don't want us to be handicapped by playing square pegs round holes. I want them to be. So Nyambe is free. Yeah, that's Steve in the comments. Just to confirm, Sheffield Wednesday are the 24th club in the championship. Okay. So that is breaking news. And so who's got Callum Britton? Who's gonna do the digest on him?
I think it's me. Yeah, I think if we can control copy what Denver said about Pickering and control paste it, then whatever he said before applies to Callum Britton. I think he had a great start at the beginning of the season. Everyone was like, "Oh yeah, we found our right back. Who needs Nyambe?" And he did well. Like, listen, there was nothing he did brilliantly at times. Also, made a couple of mistakes. wasn't as good as other times. And then he got injured, and Rankin Gonzalo got his chance, and then he came back to full fitness and was a reserve left back. So I think put him in there as a C. Wasn't that much better than Pickering. And yeah, listen, he's a good right back. I think next year, if Rankin Gonzalo moves further up the pitch, he'll be in there in a right back, and hopefully we get somebody to challenge at right back. But C for me.
Any other takers, concerns? Spot on. I got my two people back to C, so that means guarantee. Okay then, Jacob, you got this one.
Yeah, interesting one with Ty, hasn't it? It's been very stop-start for him, but in fairness, he hasn't started every game. He had that really good run, didn't he, around that Leicester game, whilst Diaz was injured, where he was coming into his own, and I personally were thinking, yeah, if he carries on playing like this, he's going to be some player next season. But there's rumours of potentially even moving him on this summer, what's interesting in itself. I think again it's probably a bit tight between C and B, but I think he has had his moments, so I'd maybe edge him into B, but I wouldn't mind if Denver and Holmes think he should be in C.
Denver, what do you think?
I think he's had some really good games, but again, I've looked at games where he seems lost, and we've had to bring other players on. So Again, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
If it's going to be C, it's going to be a high C. But I'm looking at B, and I just don't think he had the same impact as some of them players in B. Look, some games he did have that. He was that star man, but then in other games he was just a bystander.
Yeah, for me it was just too far and few between. Those moments of brilliance wasn't mixed in with any consistency that we'd like to see from him in his second, third season at Rovers, and hopefully it comes through next year. But there's just that sort of end product that's missing from his game at the moment. And when he does get it right, he gets a hell of a right, but he doesn't get it right that often. So for me, it's a C.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just simple, plain and simple. Another one. Let's even bring him up to the front here. So another interesting one. This one. I don't know. Like I'm a little bit disappointed by Hedges, but I don't know. That's just. I don't think he's had that many times.
It's me, isn't it? Talk about Hedges.
Yeah.
So, the Welsh connection. Oh.
Exactly. I'm not Welsh, but I'm just all I'm going to say is,
you living there.
I live there, and that signed shirt behind me, I don't know if you can see it. He actually gave me that shirt, so I'm a bit tainted.
Oh wow.
No
bias. Hey,
yeah.
Just today.
No bias whatsoever. Working for a Welsh club, and he knows the people, like he's friends with the people who work there, so they
Amazing.
got in contact with me, and then apparently that's the story they told me anyway. Oh, they give you the shirt. Oh, thanks. So I have a little soft spot for Ryan, especially being from round days. He lived around not in where I live now, but in the where I went to school. He went from the same area anyway. So I think as a season, he's an all right season. I'd say straight away, my head right now it's a C. Just because he's had his moments. I remember he scored that goal. I can't remember what it was against, not too long ago, where it was put through. Was it the back heel from Sam Gallagher? I want to say it was the back heel from Sam Gallagher. It was a great goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's had his moments, but again, I'd say it's similar to Dolly. He's had all right games, and then games where he's just gone missing, and he's not been that player. So, and then we're not talking about the shot against Preston because.
You mean the one that
pass back against Preston?
Whereas if he had shot the ball, then we would have. Jacob, I'm just filling in for you here.
Jake,
Thank you.
Exactly. As Jacob would say, yeah. So, look, it's. I think C. I think C would be. I don't know if anyone else has any. Thanks for the shirt, though.
Yeah, thanks for the shirt.
I'll hang one say. It's a Steve. 9 Steve's watching. He got Macaday's Aberdeen shirt. Absolutely no mark on it. He says. Let's wrap up Hedges. What do we think about Hedges? Where's he going?
I think C's fair. I don't think he'd be pushing for B at all. I don't think he's like that with Ty. I think he's very much been a C this season. He's had his games, but he's also obviously had the stinkers as well, as Holmesy has mentioned. But I think it was Steve Ward in his pre-season predictions were predicting him to be the breakout player of the year, and he's been far from that. Just not even really established a spot in the team, has he? Maybe next season with Diaz's departure. I can see that being more Ty getting that spot for me.
Holmesy, what about this gentleman here? Everyone's favourite.
Oh, wow. Do I have to sum up Gallagher?
Figures Gallagher.
Yes. Sometimes you see him running around the field and there's so much heart and there's so much passion. And then the ball comes to him and it hits him somewhere and it bounces like 4 meters in front of him and he's lost possession of it. And you just think, is this a championship footballer? But, then every now and again, he comes out with a sterling little play and he scores a goal and he scores an important goal. And I don't know, just maybe for his heart and he tries. And maybe we are a better team sometimes when he does play. And maybe he needs to give more games down the middle than on the right and on the left. Yeah, I think give him a C. For me, he's a C.
Yeah, that's very.
He's not bad and he's not great, and I think and I think that's what we'll always get from him. I don't ever envision him. Like you talk about your Hedges, you talk about your Dolans, talk about your Britons. We know there's a lot of upside to them and where they can get to in order as Blackburn Rovers players, and our hopes for next season. But for me, I just think we'll have Gallagher. We'll have this exact same chat next year, and he'll be C again.
I'm hoping now that we've signed Ennis, it maybe gives him a kick up the arse, because he's not had any competition for his spot, really, has he? He's had these kids who are trying to knock on the door, your Butterworth, your Bale, your Leonards, but that's no real competition. I mean, how many times has he got injured and he's straight back in the team as soon as he's back? I do even talks of getting him in for the game v Millwall. He's not had any competition, and it shows, really. I can't believe he hasn't brought single figures this season, and he's played every single time he could, really. But yeah, he's got to be a C. Sky put those figures around whenever he's in the team, or win percentage, this, that, and the other. But yeah, he works hard. I don't think anyone can question that. But from your striker, your main man, you need to be getting at least double figures.
Yeah, I agree with C as well. But again, we're saying that the new signing is going to. I can't see him either. Signing, he's still young. I know he's 24, so he's not too young. But I don't see him again making much of a challenge for Gallagher. Hopefully, he proves to be wrong. But I think we need to sign someone more proven for Gallagher to maybe get his. Okay, now I need to, really try.
I'd agree there.
Yeah.
I see this new signing more pushing Dolan and Hedges than Gallagher. I see this new signing probably playing down one of the flanks as opposed to essentially down the middle.
Replacement.
Yeah. Possibly.
Yeah.
Hopefully get somebody better as a Diaz replacement, but
Yeah, true. But with Gallagher, like I said, he's steady, and to be fair, when he's not been in the team, we have missed him. But we just know that there's so much more. We can get so much more from another player in that position, especially goals is one of them. When he's not
a good player in that position. Put it that way. We can get so much more from a good player in that position. The problem is we don't have a good player in that position to get more from. We've got a striker in the D's and a striker in the F. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So next up, Loney Thomas Sorba Thomas. Who's on this?
I do hope we get this man back. Personally, I know some fans are very mixed on his time, but I think he weren't afforded every game by any means. There were quite a few times he was benched. I think the only poor game I seen from him really was away at Preston. I think other than that, when he played, he was quality from set pieces, absolutely brilliant with his corners and whatnot, and can just deliver a ball. I think obviously there might be a bit of lack of goal threat there, which obviously was our main Achilles heel really last season. Just you look at our goals you look at our goal difference, what ultimately cost us. We maybe needs to add that goals aspect to his game. I think he's only scored a few goals his entire career. But he's someone who, if he's still going to be disgruntled at Huddersfield, I think we could maybe get him at a snip. I think, maybe a couple million at most. And I think could be one who could be a breakout player for us if we got him. May really make his mark on the team.
So where are you putting him?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I'd say, personally, whenever he played, he was brilliant. So I'd go B, personally.
B. Oof. B's a sought after. What are we taking, Denver, Holmesy? Where we?
So listen, he started off really brightly, like he had a point to prove when he first came into the side after January, February, but sort of fell away towards the end. I do remember reading a report, and I could be wrong, that he just wasn't pulling his weight in training, wasn't performing in training as well as some of the other guys. That's why he wasn't getting those opportunities, because he started, like, he was great, he was in the side, and then all of a sudden he wasn't getting those opportunities. How much did he impact us? He was good when he started. I think he fell away a lot. Maybe it was through opportunities, but it's what the coach sees on the training ground. I don't think you can put him above some of those other guys that we do have in the C's. I'd put him as in the C's.
Denver, you're the deciding factor, I think, on this one.
I think it's just he's a solid C. He had his moments of glimpses. Signing him back, I always had that concern of look what he did at Huddersfield. When things go wrong, he downs tools, and it's a bit of like a. Do we really want to play like that? Who mix up the dressing room and look, we can see that he's got quality there, but at the same time, apparently, if those rumours are true with him being lazy on the training pitch and so on and so forth, when things are going well, I'm sure he'd be a great player to have around the squad. But I think performance this year, C. I think solid C.
If he gave you a signed shirt, it'd be a B, right?
Be an A star.
All right, who's got sick note here? Daniel Ayala. Who's got that guy?
It is me. It is me. I was just looking at just while we were talking, then I posted the full list of the championship teams, and it's looking an interesting league, isn't it? I'm seeing Leicester.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Anyway,
that's coming up.
It's coming up, is it? Daniel Ayala, again, C. I think if it weren't for his injuries, I'm sure he'd be an A. But he's Mr. Inconsistent when it comes to injuries and playing time. But undoubtedly, when he's on the field, he is I would say the best centre back we have at the club. But it's just unfortunate that he can play 3 games and then there is something wrong, and he has to go off for gone for a month, and then he'll come back onto the bench, and we've had to stock Scott Wharton playing in the one position and Carter, and then when they're getting the run of games and not getting injured, you're going to prioritise them, because you know that if you bring Ayala for 2 or 3 games, he's going to be injured again. It's just there's a reason why we're letting him go, because of that reason. So look, it's phenomenal when he plays, but with the lack of game time, I think it has to be a C.
Any arguments?
I think C's fair. I think he was brilliant first half of the season, but second half, obviously, didn't get many chances, did he?
Yeah, exactly. And, part of it's being able to last the whole season is part of how good your season is. And for as good as he is from game to game, it's just, unfortunately for him, his body just seems to be breaking down. I don't know if anything's ever going to change for him. Once you got that first injury, they just compound one on top of the other. So I wish him all the best on his way out. Sadly, we haven't got the most out of him. But yeah, definitely a C.
Definitely a C. But what about this guy? Holmesy, I think that's you, right?
Yes, it's been a tough all season for Dominic, trying to come in and replace Linehan at the centre back. Yeah, been okay every now and again, but you can just slot him up there as player of the season and A. Listen, I think everybody was a bit worried of when we did lose Dara. He had been what we built our defense around. And I do think we upgraded. I think it was a good piece of business getting him to the club, stealing him away from Coventry. Jeez, he would have had regrets had Coventry gone up, because I don't think they would have wanted to lose him. Yeah. But yeah, listen, I think he's just made the Scottish squad a full Scotland international now. He's getting stronger game by game, and yeah, definitely a captain for the future, I think. A Rovers captain, a leader in the dressing room. Look forward to what season 2 has to offer for him.
So an A. Is that an A? Did I hear an A?
That's an A.
Okay.
Listen, if Rankin Costello is an
Easy
A, then Dominic Hyam is an
A. If Rankin Costello is a C, then Hyam's I don't know what Hyam is. He's in the stars. Hyam, I think he's the only nailed. Exactly. He's the only nailed on A that I think we've got to see. He's just Mr. Consistent, phenomenal each game, calm, collective, makes the right decision, makes the right passes. I can't think of when he's ever put a foot wrong. Scored a scorpion kick goal. What else can you?
But Denver, if he did not score that own goal, then Blackburn Rovers would have been.
True, very true. But he can't. It's not his fault. He couldn't do much about it.
Not his fault.
Yeah,
he didn't have his body in the way. Yeah. If he was better at positioning himself.
If that was Daniel Ayala, it wouldn't have gone in.
Yeah.
can blame
Would
that
have
on the
broken eye on his leg as well.
Denver's signed shirt.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But even from day one, his debut against Blackpool, come in and you just thought this guy's different class. Like he just come in straight away, absolutely brilliant game, and I don't think he's really put a foot wrong in any game. To be honest, I can't recall a poor Dominic Hyam game personally. Just been utterly consistent the entire season, and he's been giving us at least a 7 or 8 every game. You would think.
All right. Next up, Buckley, John Buckley. There, of course, the complete name there, John Buckley.
Yeah, Buckley's an interesting one. I think I'd have to say C. I think when he's played, he's been decent. Not really set the world alight. I think obviously at the end of last season scored those couple goals, Preston away, Birmingham away, and you're thinking this could be his breakout year. But yeah, I think Morton coming in really kind of, obviously just made his chances few and far between, and we speculated whether that's something in the loan contract or whatever. But I think Buckley's got to be playing next season. I think he needs just nail down a spot as that box to box man. If he can add some goals to his game, it will be some player. His vision and whatnot gets stuck in. But yeah, he's not really had his chances or moments this season, I suppose.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, put him. Where were you putting him? C.
I'm going to say C.
C.
I think he's been similar to like a Gallagher, personally.
Yeah, except with more upside to potential to his game. But yeah, I don't know. Like Buckley had that run where he just couldn't get in the team. You mentioned, and Morton was in there, and then he just wasn't making the squad for a while. And I think JDT gave him a bit. And there's been a few other players. Another one I can think of is Travis, where they've just had a break from the team and couldn't break back in. And then they've come back a bit more rejuvenated, a bit better. And I think he came back towards the latter half of the season a lot stronger. He was playing in place of Morton. Morton was dropping to the bench, and he was starting to get his confidence back, sort of last season's form back. And then he got that injury, which of course meant that Morton played those last games to the season. So I think he was finding himself a bit in the season, but not enough to push him back up to B. So I think you're definitely right on a C there.
Denver, anything on Buckaroo?
I think phenomenal player. I think we've got someone really good in our hands. Just a bit of a transitional year for what JDT has wanted from the squad, and then that injury hasn't helped them either. So I think there's still more to come for Buckley, but I think he's one of them who could potentially, though, if we don't go up in the next few years, a lower Premier League club might. If he does well and he keeps his feet grounded and starts chipping in with those goals like we expect him to, he'll have a few clubs sniffing around him, lower Premier League clubs. But hopefully we'll be in the Prem by then. So,
and if he does that, we'll have a better chance of getting into the Prem.
Yeah,
exactly.
Who's got Scotty Wharton? Scotty Wharton.
It's me, innit? Adam and Scotty Wharton. Hey, the chant. The two brothers. I think, again, it's a tough one, isn't it? With how well Hyam's been playing and Carter's been playing since he's come in, he's just fallen down the pecking order, especially with his injuries. He's fallen down the pecking order, which is sad to see ultimately because he be one of our own and his brother in the squad now doing well. Yeah, I think right off from my head, another C player. I don't think he's done atrocious to the point where he'd be a D or been a disappointment, but from how much he was playing last season, due to Ayala's injuries in the first place, we thought, maybe he might be that left-sided. But he has had a few moments where I've got, he's made a bit of a mistake there, or he's done too much, and you can say that for a few of the players. But I think a C is a solid place for Wharton.
Agree? Disagree?
I was torn in my head whether maybe D, but I think that'd be a bit harsh. I think he started the season well, but obviously just due to Carter breaking through, he's just not got his chance, has he? But it really did annoy me towards the end of the season when it was, all right, we're leading. Let's throw Scott Wharton on, go to a back five, and I don't think it worked once.
Not against Sheffield United.
Shame.
Sheffield
I think
United springs to mind. Preston springs to mind where he falls on his arse. Yeah, it weren't great for him towards the end of the season personally, but I think it'd be harsh to put him in D.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't the breakthrough season that we all hoped from Scott, and I think it started off like it could be, and then injuries. But he also seemed to lose a lot of confidence for whatever reason. I'm not sure why, but just seemed to be out of position a lot, making the wrong choices, which isn't what you want from your centre back, is it?
No,
definitely not.
I'm just looking at the
Probably got
four
left.
players left. Three of them are not going to be, and they're going up in rank. The three of our top three players are gone. Are going to be gone next, but more than likely.
Oof.
Yes, that's so. Anyway, who I think Holmesy, you got the
Holmesy. You got the holy grail.
my man crush, my Dak.
Oh, Dak. Oh, depending on where I put him, I could get a lot of hate mail on. Yes, he clearly didn't fit into the style of player that John Dahl wanted to play. There was a lot of pressure from the a lot of pressure from the fans to get him into the side, what he can do. We all know what he can do. It comes with a lot of nostalgia. He's had 2 shocking injuries to come back from what he's come back from has been phenomenal. Is he the player that he was before he got injured? Definitely not. Could he become that player again? Jeez, it's tough to say. It's tough to see whether he could get, you had Premier League clubs sniffing around him, waiting for him to make that big step up. Very unfortunate for him. I don't think he's made a massive impact on our season, whether it be through chances. When he did have that run of games, we weren't great. We went through a bit of a losing streak. I don't think he brought enough impetus, didn't score a hell of a lot of goals. I know if you speak to him, he'll feel he didn't have the chances. But it's because of who he is, I'm going to put him in C. But if he was anyone else, I would probably put him in D.
Any advance on that?
No, I think putting him in D would have been harsh. I don't think he's had a D season. I think, he's not had his chances. I think in and around we were the first game of the new year, Cardiff, weren't he? And he scored. I think in and around there, he started to get a run of games where he was starting again just before he had that little niggle injury, didn't he? I think if he'd have carried on, it could have turned into a half decent season for him, but unfortunately wasn't meant to be. I think it's a C personally. I think obviously he's scored a few goals.
You're right. When I look at the names that we've got in D, it's definitely a C season.
Yeah.
Yep. Denver, any advance on that?
Yep.
Or...
See, sad to see him leaving it. Like just seeing that video, it's just I remember when it was the right decision, but it was a hard decision. It's like breaking up with your missus, isn't it? It's like you need to do it because you need, it's not working, the marriage is failing, and it's the right thing to do, but you still love it, and it's like it's a horrible one. But hey, I hope he has whatever happens in his career. Now he's getting married, isn't he, at the minute? But whatever happens in his career, if that's lower championship level, if that's League One, and hope he has the rest of his career and in no injuries, fingers crossed, and he has a good.
It doesn't score against us to knock us out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Yeah, that 1 point. Hey.
Okay, Travis is next.
Travis is an interesting one. I think this season's been so up and down for him. I mean, start of the season,
scoring goals.
Scored an absolute worldie the first game. Went to Cardiff, scored again, and then not long after that, just absolutely dropped off a cliff, didn't he? Was probably the worst player we had at that point. Going to like Burnley away, Coventry away. I remember those games. Like he was just woeful, and then he started playing at right back some games. Even I remember.
That was horrible.
Just to fit him into the team, and the only thing keeping him in the team was that captain's armband. If it had been anyone else, he would not have been getting on the pitch. And then, had his time out, come back in. started playing really, really well again. Had some man of the match performances, and then I think it's kind of dropped off again towards the end of the season. I don't think he's been doing too much of naught really, for me anyway. I'd give it a C. I think he's had some points in the season where he's been an F. I think he's had some points where it's been an A. So I think a C is fair.
Any other thoughts on the captain?
C.
Same. Yeah, I would agree. There's a lot of we got. It's kind of our season really. It's been a C kind of season when we look back at everything. But there's just two more left. We'll go with Kaminski, of course. Started number 1, ended up on the bench.
Interesting, this one.
Good luck,
It's a tough
Ingvar.
one, isn't it? I think. Thanks, mate. Thanks, I appreciate it. I think. Look, we all know what Thomas is really. He's amazing. His shot stopping is one of the best in the division. His presence alone as well. Again, I think we mentioned this last season. Not very vocal. He is quite quiet when it comes as goal. Generally, as goalkeepers go. But undeniably, sometimes he's saved us through all the season. I think. And then it did tail off before the injury came about. And I think the one thing that strikes me the most between Pears and Kaminski is his distribution from the back. I think Pears' kicking is far better than every time I watch Kaminski, the amount of times he put it out for throw-ins used to infuriate me. And just like I think that is one of the main reasons why JDT has kept Pears in the side, because how much he likes to play from the back and the composure you need to be able to know when to hit it long and where to keep it. From this is just what I've seen as a coach. Whenever I see why maybe Pears, just with his distribution, would be able to play with his feet better than Kaminski is the reason why he stayed in for the rest of the season. Which is an interesting take, I think, because ultimately, if you look at the shot stopping, Pears has had his moments where he's made some great saves, but at the same time, you think if Kaminski was there, you'd have saved that. So yeah, I think shot stopping Kaminski's been phenomenal, and if it weren't for Kaminski, I think we would have been a lot lower than we were. But I think because of the injury and how Pears has made that mark, I think again a case for a high. I'm looking at Pears in that B category. I maybe lean to a B, but and then I'm looking at C. Again, do you know what?
If I was Kaminski's lawyer, I'd say if it wasn't for Kaminski, we wouldn't have been where we were for a good part of that season. So just
I'd say B.
I was having a chat.
I'd say B.
I was having a chat with my mate, and he said there's a very good case to say he was the best player that first half of the season. You think about that save he made at Middlesbrough, by the way. Jesus Christ, what a save it was. Like, wow. I think he definitely saved us in some games. Just obviously unfortunate the way it's panned out for him. But I think for the first half of the season anyway, I think he's definitely an A star. So I'd say probably a B for me.
Holmesy, you got the deciding push on this guy. Your mic's off.
Sorry, yeah, I think he's a B. Towards the end, I just feel safer when he's in goal. I know he sort of came towards the end before he got injured. He lost his place in there, but I just always feel safe when he's in goal. I know that I have a safe feeling, which is what you want from your keeper. Pears did amazingly when he came in, but with Pears, I always feel there's that mistake in him for some reason. Maybe it was those first games that he played where he made a few howlers, but I just feel safer when Kaminski's there. I think he's a quality keeper. He's only going to get better. I, for one, really hope we don't sell him. I think he's vital to us going up next season, but hey, who knows what'll happen. So, yeah, B.
Unfortunately, we don't pay the bills, so I'm with you. I prefer Kaminski, but I think if you're going to sell one, make some money. Kaminski's the only one that's going to
No, of course.
get you some cash. And then our Chilean sensation, who's on Brereton Diaz? Who's going to wrap up his season?
Is it me? Okay, well, I think Brereton Diaz, if we had to sum up his season, I think overall he was more Brereton than he was Diaz. I think he had some moments of brilliance. He started off the season like he finished the end of last season. Then after Christmas, I don't know if he knew he was off, but at times it just didn't click for him. Lost a bit of form when we probably needed him the most. But yeah, finished the season leading goal scorer. Still a player of immense quality. I would give him a C plus B minus. It's a difficult one, but possibly a B, being our top goal scorer. Came back strong. That last game to end it off well for us, give us a chance. But yeah, I'll leave this one up to consensus. It's a big one to end off with, so let's go with consensus.
Okay, go on, boys.
Yeah, I think for me it's
Go,
got to
Jack, let
be
you
a
go
B.
first.
Yeah, I think it's a B for me. I think it'd be harsh to put him in C. I think, like mentioned, he's been our top goal scorer. I think he's obviously had some stinkers and he's not hit the heights of last season, has he? Which is a real shame. But I think obviously after January, I do believe that the agreement was probably in place with Villarreal or whatnot. And I think it's obviously messed with his head a little bit. He's started a family, he's just had a baby or whatever. It's probably been a lot of changes in his life, hasn't it? So you can understand it somewhat, and it's a shame because if it had carried on being Brereton Diaz for the second half of the season, it would have seen us get the playoffs. But I think it would be hard to put him in D. I think he's still been one of our better players this season.
Denver, you wrap it up on this guy.
Interesting. I'd probably, even though it's going to go into B, I would have probably gone for a C if it weren't for the other two lads. Look, I'm happy I'm going to B, but I would have gone for a C just for the fact that he has gone missing the second half of the season, and like I think the only reason why we weren't playing him was because of the fact that was the fact that we let him go for free. And the reason we kept him and let him go for a free was because we banked him to score the goals for us, and ultimately he hasn't really done that. He has scored goals where he's come when he has, he's now the players know of him, they know how to keep him quiet and stuff like that. And with players like that that's when other players in our team need to come alive and whatnot. I understand that, but with goals scoring last season. Brereton Diaz did score 20 goals before Christmas, and then by the end of the season, he'd only scored 22. So that second half of the season, he was atrocious. But we kind of forget about that, I think. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But
listen, I think what we've also got to remember, though, is when he didn't play, when he had those injuries and he wasn't available for selection, we actually went on that really good run, and we did really well. It was when he came back into the team that we sort of dropped off our form. Yeah, but listen, let's give him a B and send him off with well wishes.
If he's watching this, I'm sure he'll be happy.
If he's watching, I mean, we would have preferred £10 million, but hey, here's a B.
Without his goals, we're scrambling. We're scrambling for stuff. So I think when you look at that, there is a stinking lot of C's, and that will sum up our season. Yeah, we finished 7th, but we were a bit vanilla. At the end of the day, we were very bland, very middle of the road, and but it was it got us into a good shape, and hopefully there's a bit of foundation for them to kick on for next season. We're going to quickly transition to another interactive element of the show right here, right now. This is the I've actually might made a bit of a clanger here. Where is Sheffield Wednesday? We'll get rid of Barnsley. We'll put Sheffield Wednesday in there. We're going to do a quick fire.
No one noticed that.
I know. We're gonna start. Holmesy's going to pick one, and he's going to put a position where they're going to be, and at the end of it, and we're going to. In fact, we'll do it sort of alphabetical. We'll do it chronological, the bottom way upwards. Sheffield Wednesday to the top. So Blackburn Rovers is going to be. We're going to put them. They're going to have what's left. So we're going to start. Holmesy, where do you think Sheffield Wednesday will finish in the league next season? And then Jacob, you get West Brom. Denver, you'll get Watford, and then Swansea will be Holmesy. So then, and then we'll have an agreement, and then whatever's left. So
perfect.
Okay, so
Okay.
go. Holmesy kicks off
Shep-
with Wednesday.
Sheffield Wednesday coming up from League One. I think they're going to have a fairly decent first season up there. I'd put them 16th.
16th. Okay, not bad. Jacob, you got West Brom. And again, this won't be your final predictions. Like, we'll come back again before the season starts, and we'll do these proper. Everyone will have a go at this proper, but this is just like a team effort.
Personally, I think Wednesday will have a bit of a Sunderland season for me. I think they're a bit of a sleeping giant, but that's just me. West Brom, I think they can only kick on from this season. You would think they've still got their manager, haven't they? I know he's a bit sought after, Corberan, isn't it? But yeah, I think I'll go 5th. I think they've got the players on paper, and I think obviously a lot of them were quite new. I think maybe needed that season to gel a little bit. Ended in a decent enough position, but I think they will be going for top 6 obviously next season.
Denver has Watford with Valerie Ishmael, manager.
Well, we'll see how long he's going to be there for. It's so hard with Watford, isn't it? They're all over the place. I'm just going to be like, right, without any signings, of course, and all these players, all these changes that can happen to all these clubs, I think Watford are going to have a very similar season to us. And I think when we first came down, well, second time we came down, and I think they're going to finish 12th.
Watford 12th. Okay. Holmes has got Swansea without Russell Martin. Don't know who's going to be manager. Somebody new.
I don't know who's going to be manager. I think they'll have a middle of the road season. I reckon 17th.
17th. Okay. Jacob gets Tony Mowbray. Maybe.
Potentially, yeah. I think losing Diallo is going to be a big hit for these lot. I think if they didn't have Diallo, they definitely wouldn't have made playoffs. It's as simple as that. You can't really replace him either. He's such a quality player, £40 million player or whatever. I'm going to say 9th. I think they'll still push for playoffs again, but I can't see them making it next season, personally.
Denver has Stoke.
14th.
Interesting.
I was just going to say 14th. Again, they're the team that everyone thinks going to be in the playoffs, and they all never do. They always stumble. So, 14th.
Okay.
They were chanting EIEIO when they beat us at the 365 from 15th. They were thinking they were on the road.
Oh, yeah, that game. I was driving down to Georgia. It's 3-0 down. I was listening to it on the flipping truck, and I was like, oh, it's miserable. And then it was 3-2. Holmesy has Southampton.
Oh, Adam Armstrong, the return. 24th, going straight back down. I think they'll come back. Well, they'll go down it yet again. I think they'll come back, come strong. You know, they've been in the Premier League for years and years, and they've got massive wallets. I think they'll be 3rd. They'll just miss out on.
Good shout. Okay. Jacob has Rotherham.
I don't think Rotherham are going to be able to survive in this league next season. I'm very surprised they didn't do their usual yo-yo this season. But I think maybe a bit of second season itis for them, and look how strong this championship's going to be. So out of all the teams there, I'm going to go 23rd.
23rd. We have next Gareth Ainsworth, QPR for Denver.
Just survived the drop, didn't they? They were right amongst it towards the end. I know they were safe, but it was clutching at straws. I think. Will he be as bad? I don't know. It's hard to say. Let me have a look at those teams. I think they'll finish. If it weren't for Swansea and Sheffield Wednesday being in those positions, I'm gonna put them 18th. I can't see them any higher than what I'm looking at that team now. I'm gonna put them 18th.
Well, Holmesy has the honour of the Nobbers.
The Nobbers, always there and thereabouts. Always a thorn in our side. I don't know. I reckon they'll finish I was going to say 12th, but I see Watford's there. Put them at 13th.
13th.
It's a strong, it is a strong, very strong championship next season. I don't think they'll be up and around the playoffs. I think 13th.
All right, Jacob, you have the Green Army, Plymouth.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. It could be a really interesting season for them, but I mean, they've obviously just lost Ennis, who was a bit of, obviously that's going to be a blow to them. I'm going to say they're going to come up and they're going to have a stinker. 24.
Well, they're linked with Macaulay Langstaff from Notts County, the goal machine from for their promotion campaign. So he could be, if he gets in. Yeah, well, I don't know.
Different league,
It is a different league, but it's also quite competitive. It could be an amazing sign, or it could be an absolute dud.
I know a lot like stuff being down the road from Wrexham.
Yeah.
The noise from Wrexham.
You have Norwich. Tricky one.
Norwich, honestly, again, they're so tough to predict along with Watford. Because you could see them just getting the right manager, getting everything ticking and finishing first, like they have done the few seasons. But at the same time, you can just see it with losing the likes of Pookie and whatnot and finishing the mid-table. I'm going to go, because I'm looking at the quality of the championship this season, I'm going to go with a 10th. I'm not going to think too much. 10th.
Holmesy has Millwall, just the bridesmaid this time, missing out.
Oh, just the bridesmaids. We ruined their chances. Very, very strong championship. Are they going to kick on from just missing out? I don't know.
They always seem to populate, don't they?
Yeah. I don't think they're going to be in the top 8. That's leaving 11th place open. There's some other teams up there that I think are going to be better. Oh, I don't know. It's between 8th and 11th for me. I think throw them in at 11th.
11th. Yeah, you might end up with some right shockers up in. I don't know. It's quite tight.
No one wants that 19th to 22nd position.
No. Jacob, you have Middlesbrough.
Borough is a really interesting one. I think this all depends on if they keep Michael Carrick or not. Obviously, at this moment in time, he's there, so I'm going to predict that he stays. I'm going to go with second.
Second for the Borough.
Well,
yeah, I think they'll kick.
We're going to put him up there.
I think he's a good manager.
Yeah.
So that's one of the automatics gone. Okay,
Yeah.
Leicester City.
Got to remember, by the way, obviously, if he was in the entire season, where would they have finished?
True.
Start.
But they were kind of trapped towards the back end.
Yeah, towards the end, they fell off a bit. But
yeah, true.
Leicester. See, I was going to put them first, but that's where Blackburn are going to go. So I can't put them there. No, I think their squad and the finances that they have are so they should doesn't mean they will. They should walk this league, and so I'm going to put Leicester top. It pains me to take away that top spot for us. I'll put them top.
All right. Holmesy has Leeds.
Okay, Leeds. Interesting one. There's always that one club that comes up that just can't grasp the championship. Yeah, they're still. Yeah. Where do we go? They're
going to lose a few players as well.
Yeah, they're going to lose a few players, but they'll still have the quality. They're up and about. Oh, they're going to just. Let's put them 8th.
8th spot for Leeds. Ooh, interesting. Who's going to be the coach? That's another question.
Yeah.
Ipswich Town for Jacob.
Brendan Rodgers.
Ipswich is an interesting one. I think Brendan Rodgers got to get a Premier League job, by the way. I don't think he got a championship. FA Cup winner 2 years ago or something now. Ipswich is an interesting one. Looking at teams we have left. Let's go 20th.
20th. Yeah, a lot of the bookies have them high. I don't get it.
They're a fairly big team, aren't they? They've been down there a long while. They could very well kick on, but I can see that being more for maybe Chef Wednesday than for them personally.
It's a tough championship.
It is a tough championship.
It is.
Hull City next for Denver.
Yeah.
21st. I think they'll just scrape it. I can see them going down, to be fair, but again, I can see them doing well. I don't know. They're a weird one, Hull. So I'm going to just put them in 21st because we're running out of places.
No. Holmesy has Huddersfield Town without Warnock, apparently.
Time for Huddersfield to go down. Put them in 22nd.
22nd spot, which leaves Coventry City for Jacob.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because they're going to lose all their players now, you'd feel. Big Vic's definitely going, isn't he? Maybe Hamer. So they've got some other good players. Ultimately, it's they're a club that don't even own the stadium, and it's obviously it's I don't think we can attract players to replace Vic's goals and all that. I don't think. Right, it's either 7-15. I'll go 15th. I'll predict that they drop the season.
Wow. Now it's to the final four. We have Cardiff City for Denver.
I'm looking at the spaces we've got left. It's how are we going to have either Birmingham, Bristol, or Cardiff 6? Can we all fourth for all that matter? Right, Cardiff.
That is a very good point, Denver.
yeah, it is. Cardiff. Out of those three, who can I actually see 6? Because ultimately, I could put all them three in 19th. I'm just trying to think. Can I put Cardiff 6th? I really can't. Or 7th. But then I can't see Bristol City. 7th. I want Cardiff City 7th just because I can't.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oof.
I'm not saying that we'll finish 7th. If I could do this again, I'd reshuffle the pack. But
I know that's the fun of it. It's how it's all about. Yeah. I hope that you have Bristol City though.
Oh, Bristol City, Birmingham. Yes, Bristol City, Birmingham. Yes, where are they? They're either 19th, or they are 6th, or they are 4th, or Birmingham.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, I've got to think that we're leaving that 4th space open for Blackburn. So let's put Bristol at 6th.
Oof.
I mean, they were there a few years ago, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. And they got that young Adam Scott fellow who's been ripping it up, or whatever his name is, the young guy who's touted to be £25 million player. So you never know. But
I don't think Pearson's a bad manager either. It just hasn't worked for him so far, has it?
So what are you going to do with Birmingham there, Jacob? You have the honours of putting either
put them 4th, aren't you, Jacob?
Yeah, it's 19th for Birmingham.
And so you guys have agreed. 4th spot for Blackburn Rovers. You know what? That's not too crazy. Hey, you know what? This division is going to be it's going to be tense. It's going to be tight. If we can get that investment right, then who knows? The guys' experience. And I'm thinking that if we do get rid of, we got rid of Dak, we get rid of Diaz gone, Ayala. If a couple of others go, then maybe the mindset of the dressing room changes. Maybe the mindset of the senior players has caused us to fall off the face of it in the second half of the season, and maybe some new leaders in the dressing room will change that. But where does this guy fit in? We're going to wrap up quick on Niall Ennis. I don't know too much about him myself. 14 goals last campaign. A champ. They won the division, right? They won Plymouth champions. So excited. Are we excited about this guy? I think we got to be, really.
From what I've read, he's got a bit of pace. Likes to get in behind the back four. Yeah, I'm excited for him. Clearly comes with knows where the back of the goal is, whether he can convert that to championship, especially in his first season there. But yeah, I mean, on a free, can't go wrong. I don't know what his wages will be, but I can't imagine they'll be anywhere near Dax or Brereton. So not the worst signing. And to start off getting a signing in the first week of the window or the first week of the season being done is something we haven't seen for a while. It's so yeah, good on him. Blackburn player, going to get to know the squad early on, do a pre-season with us, which is more than we can say for half of our signings 3/4 of the time. Excited. Think it's a good move.
Jacob, any words on this guy before we close out?
Yeah, I'm really happy with it. I think it's another bit of really savvy business, just like Dom Hyam was getting him at a steal. I think just coming and poaching this guy, Plymouth were wanting to keep him. What's obviously, me speaks volumes about him, I guess. And he obviously wants to push on, come to a bigger club. And yeah, hopefully can be a bit of an Adam Armstrong player, getting him behind. I seen when he signed, someone said, as soon as Adam Waterman sees the ball, you just make the run and he'll find you. And hopefully we do see that. Same with Buckley as well. He's got that sort of vision. And yeah, like I was saying before, if he is gonna be playing down the middle, I think it's good that Gallagher has some competition now. And like I was saying, he's needed that for a while. So let's hope this man can at least break double figures, eh?
That's the ticket. And of course, I think linked with Swansea as well, as Preston was sniffing around. Good business, Denver, you think?
I think, yeah, for free, I think it's all right. The only worry I have, because ultimately I don't think he's going to be pushing for Gallagher's spot anytime soon. So I'd like to bring in someone a bit more caliber, possibly in that position. I'm not saying a out and out proven player now, because that would cost way too much than what we've got. But someone who could definitely find the back of the net, that could challenge Gallagher, I'd like maybe. But I think someone similar to a Dolan, good young, young, not so young, but someone who could definitely get in the squad and make an impact. I think he'll be something. My only other concern is how many? He scored 14 goals, didn't he? 14 goals for Plymouth last season. And looking back to when we were in the league and we scored 7, and Dax scored 17 goals for a more forward player, you'd think, okay, might be a concern when Dak come up, and you just hope that level isn't going to be too much of a jump for him, especially looking at Hurst doing well for Ipswich this season, and not doing it at all for us in the season. So it's one of them. It's hard to judge, but for a free signing, it looks promising.
Free signing. All right, that's the best way. We're going to close out on that. I enjoyed myself. Good review of the season, and of course, good little insight maybe the next season. And of course, we'll hope to have more podcasts before the start of the campaign, maybe when we make some more moves. But any closing comments, Holmesy? What you want to say before you go? Anything?
Yeah. Well, it's been a hell of a ride again this last season, but let's hope that the boys have a good break. We've got a good preseason, and we get a few more signings in, and yeah, let's look forward. All we need to do is turn a couple of those players who got C's, 4 or 5 of those jump up to B's. There's a lot of good young players there. All of a sudden, you've got 7 players who are B's. A couple of those B's become A's. You've got a team who are on the front foot and been in that championship. And yeah, let's hope. Let's hope for a good season. Let's hope we can get into the playoffs and stay there.
Jacob, before you go, what about JDT? Is it, does he have to a better 7th to in order to stick around, or what? Just closing thoughts about that, the managerial situation.
I don't think he'd get sacked if we weren't to make playoffs. I think, as we've said so many times, this league's going to be one of the hardest, I feel, anyway. If the team's coming up and the team's going down, live up to expectations. And as mentioned, your Norwich's, Watford's, they kick on your West Broms. It's the season just gone was the season to make it, unfortunately for us, and it probably come a season too early. But yeah, we're just gonna have to go again, and potentially I was going to mention potentially get a Clark Harris or something like that. He's been transfer listed. I wouldn't mind that, to be honest. Maybe get him at a steal, get a goal scorer in, replace Diaz's goals. got some young players coming through. If they live up to their potential this coming season, as you would hope they would, I don't think there's any reason why we can't push for playoffs again, personally.
Yeah. I've got my hopes. I think my tip is to break that top 6 this next season. Denver, what is your final takeaways before we close out? Do you fear, or are you excited, or are you a little bit scared for the new season approaching? Now we know the 24th.
I'm optimistic. I think optimistic's the right word. I'm not exactly excited because we've lost a lot of players. I'm not scared because I think we're in reasonably good hands and we have young players coming through. And I'm just optimistic and seeing what if these players can develop and push on. But I think the season overall has been an exciting year. We've seen some great moments. We've had really good moments, quarter-final FA Cups and so on and so forth. Just at the end in the league, it was disappointing. But we hope for better next year. That's we always say that, don't we? It's always next year.
There is always next year. In fact, the next year, I think we'll probably come back around about this date here. June 22nd is the new fixtures. Naive Steve has dropped that clanger into the chat. So we'll maybe look to come back around about the end of June when we'll know, whatever, and a bit more clarity. And I think GB Greg Broughton said we should have concluded half our business by the end of June. So there should be 2 or 3 new faces, hopefully, to talk about in the new season. Fingers crossed from Holmesy. Thanks again, guys. I do appreciate it from around the world. And of course, hopefully you have a good rest of your bank holidays wherever you are. If you haven't one, I think, do you have one over there, Holmesy?
No. It was a full day of work. Full day in the office.
Well, we're back tomorrow. I'm back tomorrow anyway. But appreciate you all, guys. And again,
thanks.
It's been fun. And we'll catch up with you all soon.
Jacob, Denver, cheers, guys.
Yo. And I'm going to head on out. Where's the thing? There we go. Goodbye, and goodbye.